you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talk.
Hey guys, and today we're going to be reacting to this animated horror movie. So, let's get into it.
I was a struggling ghostwriter, and I thought a break away from the city to spend time at a remote ski resort would be a good way to clear my head and help me get back on my feet. There weren't any other cabins around, so I was guaranteed a few weeks to reflect and enjoy the isolation. At least that was the case until the final week of my stay, which made this Christmas truly unforgettable. It first started at night when I suddenly woke up. Initially, I didn't know if it was from something I heard or from a bad dream. But either way, I felt compelled to look out the window. Which is when I noticed the snowman in the distance.
That's some creepy stuff.
Back when I was a kid, I would have been delighted at the mere sight of a snowman. But that sense of childhood nostalgia was soon silenced by the realization that I wasn't alone out there in the woods. The cabin where I was staying was the only one this side of the valley, so it seemed like a really long way to walk just to build a snowman. Despite the uncanny feeling, I was still far too tired to give it too much thought and managed to sleep through the rest of the night. The following morning, to no surprise, the snowman was still there. I couldn't quite put my finger on it right then, but I got this strange notion that something was different about the snowman. I decided to carry on about my day and didn't think much of it until later at night, when it happened again. I woke up suddenly for no apparent reason. I don't remember having a bad dream, but I guess it's common not to remember the dreams that we have, even the really bad ones. It felt like deja vu, and I found myself once again gazing through the bedroom window. I could still see the snowman, even clearer now. I couldn't quite figure out why, but it gave me this odd sensation. I also started to wonder why the snowman was facing towards the cabin, and why anyone would build a snowman all the way out here. There weren't any other cabins around for miles. I didn't sleep all that much after that, so the next morning, I decided to head outside the cabin for a closer look.
Don't jump scare.
I looked around, but just as I expected, there was no trace of anyone, although it was hard to be sure, considering how poor the visibility was due to the weather. I chose to knock the snowman down just for good measure, since it was already beginning to feel like some kind of bad omen. Maybe I was overreacting, it was just some kids fooling around, but at least I wouldn't have to think about it anymore. Or so I thought. The following night, things got even worse. I woke up again, but now I knew for sure it wasn't from a dream, but a loud thud, like the sound of something hitting the window.
Don't jump scare me. Don't jump scare me.
I glanced through the window and was shocked to see the same snowman, identical from the day before. I remember turning in quite late that night, and there was no sign of a snowman when I turned out the lights. So I was pretty sure that it wasn't a kid's prank. I mean, who would let their kids out this late to build a snowman? And what was that noise on the window? The last thing I wanted to do is go outside in the blistering cold, but I knew that if I waited until the morning, any footprints would most likely be covered by another thick layer of snow. I reluctantly got dressed, stepped outside and walked up to the snowman. Which is when I discovered a single set of very large footprints leading from and to the forest.
What if someone's inside the snowman?
Watched, and that somehow I had made things worse by destroying the last snowman. So I decided to leave it alone and quickly headed back to the cabin. The bitter cold stayed with me that night as I curled up in bed and tried my best to get warm. But the prospect of getting any sleep that night soon came to an abrupt end.
No.
The noise on the glass. I recognized it instantly. The sound of a snowball hitting the window. I knew deep down that it could only mean one thing. Needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink that night, and I left the cabin the very next day.
Good.
I never knew his name, or ever saw his face, but I came to know him as the Snowman.
Okay, this one is called
Well,
My
to
Teacher's
begin
Husband
with,
is
it all started last month. I was leaving school alone. It was a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary. As I was leaving, I saw a man in his 50s. He was wearing a black jacket and a pair of ugly old basketball shorts. He looked so gross. After a couple of minutes, I was finally home. I was listening to music the whole time, and I didn't realize that the man was following me. He was even holding a camera towards my bedroom window. I freaked out, but I still tried to stay calm. As I was walking to the door, I checked the window, and the man was still there holding his camera and smiling. I told my mom, so she called the police, but they didn't find anything. And they even asked me to describe him to an artist so that they could have his face, but nothing. I wouldn't tell you this story if it didn't happen just last week. I was finishing a private guitar lesson at my teacher's house when something caught my eye. It was a picture of her and her husband. Then I realized that my stalker was her husband. I took my bag, made up an excuse, apologized, and left the house. She was shocked when she saw me running. Soon after, I opened my bag and almost passed out. There was an envelope full of my pictures of me changing in my bedroom. I immediately called my mom, crying as I explained the situation. She called the police, and after a couple of minutes, they arrived. My mom did as well. They went into my teacher's house, asked her several questions about her husband, and asked about any strange activities. She stayed quiet. After searching the house, they found other pictures of multiple girls. After they caught him, they discovered that he had a bad history, which included rape and sexual assault. Now he is in prison, but I'm still afraid that someone like him will go a step further.
Dude, I thought they put him in jail. I hope you enjoyed this
30
one.
years old. And this story took place when I was 13. My mother was a single mom, and she had to work 2 jobs.
Oh, there might be.
She worked at a grocery store in the morning and a bar at night. So I was home alone a lot, but it was okay because I was used to it. I could cook myself some dinner and walk back and forth to school. I was a pretty responsible kid for my age. One night, I was watching TV while eating ice cream, and someone knocked at the front door. I was wondering who it could be, as my friends never came out this late and my mom would always use her key to get in. I opened the door, and it was a man standing there with his hands in his pockets. I said, "Hello?" He replied, "Hello, young lady. Are your parents home?" Stupidly, I said, "No. My mom isn't home right now. You have to come back tomorrow." He then said with a surprised smile on his face, "Oh, you're all alone, huh?" I said, yeah, I am. He replied with, okay, young lady. Have a nice night. Don't get into any trouble. He then walked away and I closed the door. He seemed friendly, but also weird at the same time. He was a little funny looking though. He was balding and had 70s style glasses on, with a mustache and bags under his eyes like he never slept. About 10 minutes passed, and there was another knock at the door.
Don't open it.
I got up to answer it, but before I opened the door, something told me to put the chain on. I don't know why, but my gut told me to do that. It was strange because we really didn't use the chain. But I'm glad I did because as soon as I opened the door, it was pushed open, but abruptly stopped by the chain. Before I could even say or do anything, I looked through the crack of the door to see the same man again. And he said in a startled voice, Oh, hey there. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. As he stuttered. It was like he knew he failed getting inside the house and tried to play off any suspicion by speaking quickly and making it seem like he didn't just obviously try coming into the house. I said, I'm fine, thanks, and I shut the door. At that time, I didn't really understand the situation or the dangers of what just happened. But still, I was a bit freaked out and wanted my mom to come home soon. An hour went by, and I was still thinking about what happened, so I started to watch a movie, trying to keep my mind occupied, when I heard,
Hey, let me in quick. I gotta tell you something.
No, don't let him in.
This was the scariest situation I've ever been in my life. It was the man once again. He was talking through the letterbox.
Oh my God.
I shouted, leave me alone. The letterbox closed. Then the man started banging on the front door, screaming, let me in, you little shit, while slamming the front door handle up and down, trying to get in. I just stood back crying, praying he doesn't get in. He eventually gave up and left. My mom came home about 30 minutes later, just to find me crying, and I told her everything that happened. We told the police, but they never found this guy. I look back, and I think how grateful I am that I had the feeling to put the chain on the door. I hate to think what that man would have done
No, he gonna pay
if he had managed to get in.
Oh my God. Well. Okay, this is my.
I have a true story from when I was younger. I was walking home from school one day, I was in year 11, and saw something weird. I saw a face which seemed familiar to me, but I didn't know how. Later, I was sat in my room, and I must have fallen asleep. I had a strange dream where my grandmother, who had passed away before my birth, came to visit me in my room. We had a very pleasant conversation in which she said that she wanted to give me something. I had no idea what this thing was, but I must have agreed to take it. I don't remember exactly what happened next, but I knew it was morning by the way that my mother was calling me to get up for school. I did my normal morning routine, except I didn't put on my glasses, which was strange as I need them to see. Anyhow, I went downstairs to the bathroom and then went into the living room. My mom was in the kitchen making breakfast. I sat in the living room waiting for her to be ready, and as she came in with my tea and cereal, she took one look at me and dropped everything. I thought it was because she had seen me without my glasses, but she wasn't really looking at my face. She was looking at my neck. Somehow, during the night, a small gold locket had been placed around it. I was told that the locket had been lost before I was born, and that no one knew where it had gone or what it contained. I never even had seen this locket before, but my mom knew of it as she'd seen pictures of my grandmother wearing it. So, little by little, everything started to fall to place.
What?
The person I had seen, or at least thought I saw, must have been a glimpse of my gran. To this day, I still have the locket, I tried to return it to my mom, but she said the locket wasn't given to her, and that it was given to me for safekeeping. I still have so many questions about it, like, why was it hidden all these years? Or why was it given to me? But
This one's not.
I keep it with me always, as a good luck charm.
Oh, you know, I really want to see
This story just happened
wanna
last
do this
year.
Last one.
I work as a receptionist at a hotel, and we often hold high school proms here as we have a big hall and a stage. In order to get to the hall, you have to pass the reception desk. It was prom night, and it was already underway. All the students and teachers were in the dance hall. All the pictures had been taken, and the reception area was empty. At some point during the evening, someone approached the reception desk. I looked up to see a tall man standing there. He had a clean-shaven face, and his hair was greasy and tied back in a ponytail. He was also wearing a suit that was pretty old,
Does that?
and it was also dirty, along with some Adidas shoes. His eyes were wide open, and he said, "I'm here for the prom." At first, I thought he was kidding, but he looked dead serious. He accidentally said porn, then he said prom. I said, "Are you employed by the school?" He said, "No, I'm a student here." I still kept thinking he was joking. He looked to be in his late 40s, and he was telling me he was a high school student. So I asked him, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 17. No, 16. Yeah, 16. At this point, I thought he was on drugs or something. I said, "I'm sorry, but you don't look 16 at all." He just stared at me, not saying a word, with his eyes wide, staring right at me. He then leaned over to me and said, "I'll make you a deal. I have a big blade in my pocket. If I'm not 16, you can cut my finger off. If I am 16, I can cut your finger off." I didn't get the chance to say anything because he walked out right after he said that. I told my boss about what happened. He said to let him know if he comes back and he'll deal with it. I finished my shift around 12,
Oh man.
and I went to get in my car. There was an envelope under my windshield wiper. Written on it was, "A deal is a deal."
With blood dripping.
I opened the envelope to see a human finger. And I had a feeling that this wasn't his own finger due to it being another color. I never saw that man again. And I always wondered why he was trying to get into that prom.
Dude, that's the last one. Y'all, bye.
Hellcat.